Is Call of Duty in trouble? That is the name of this video. This is an exclusive Ace reaction video, and I am your boy, the myth, the legend, the man with 3,000 hands, aka Reaction Boy 3000, aka Ugly Boy 3000. If you are new here, if you've never been here before, go ahead and hit that sub button, turn on the post notifications so you never miss a video, and drop a like. It puts us to the algorithm and it gets us one step closer to taking over the world. Exclusive Ace.
What's up guys, my name is Ace, and it looks like finally the skill data is starting to pour in for players that have requested it from Activision. For those that aren't familiar, a couple weeks back, I shared the fact that you
let's
can
go. Hey man, Exclusive Ace is coming in clutch right now. If you don't already know, then I already probably told you what the title says of the video. But if you don't already know, there's hidden skill data that they're hiding from you, you know what I'm saying, for different ranks and different brackets of players. And you can't hide it no more, and he recovered it. And let's get to it. Exclusive, tell them
personal data from
Activision.
Activision.
They can't do
this
it,
is
dog.
a legal requirement for them to do in many regions at least. And as part of
Legal
the personal
actions.
data they share for you, they share every single match that you've ever played. It looks like all the way back to Modern Warfare 2019. At least for some people, it went that far back. And with this data, it also...
My data definitely goes back to 2019. If this video gets enough likes or enough shares, or if I get enough subscribers off this video, I'll make a video about my my own data. You know what I'm saying? We'll do the request. Hopefully we get it, but we live in America, so we might not get it because they be suppressing information. You know what I'm saying? You gotta think big. You gotta think big. You gotta understand. You know what I'm saying? We're in the metaverse, so they be not letting you know what's really going on.
also includes your hidden skill rating that they don't show you in game and that they matchmake you based on. Now, I already went through my skill data when it comes to Black Ops 6.
Ooh, look
that
at
was
the
just a
skill
single
data.
data point. Now, I've had a lot of people responding with at least some of the general stats that they've been seeing with their data that they received. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit today, share some of my initial observations, keeping in mind this video is going to be far from scientific. It's more about making some general observations, maybe noticing some indications of trends that may exist.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, there's still one big element that's holding us back from seeing basically everything that's going on here, and that is they don't share the lobby skill data. While you do get to see your skill rating, you don't get to see the skill rating of the lobbies that you're playing in.
We
that
need
does
lobby
have a big
skill.
impact on what your skill rating will be, as we'll see as we go through this video today. Also keep in mind, a lot of this data is very messy because people are reporting different values. Like some are reporting elimination death ratio, others are reporting kill death ratio. Some people are only reporting their maximum skill rating, not their average or their minimum. So this is why toward the end of the video, I am going to ask for those that are willing to share their data in a more standardized format that I can actually analyze with a bit more accuracy. But stay tuned for that. I'll share exactly what I'm looking for from you guys. If you're willing to go the extra mile, you don't have to do it, obviously.
Like I said,
that out of the way, let's go through some of the immediate
fill out the
observations I
paperwork.
noticed just scrolling through a bunch of people's data that they have shared. The first big thing I noticed that didn't pop up at all with my data is your skill rating can actually get into the negatives. So 0 isn't the lowest value. In fact, based on what I'm seeing, it appears a 0 skill rating may actually be right around the average.
The homie Cold Piece, I know where you at, bro. Like, I already know where you at, but I ain't gonna say it. Peso too. I know where Peso's skill rating is too. And it's not that one up there. The single one all the way up there. It's not that one, dog.
If not bang on average. And unsurprisingly, most of the people that did share their data with me, they do have a positive skill rating overall. But typically, if you're somebody that watches a channel like mine, you're dedicated to improving yourself, and therefore, on average, you're going to see above average players watching my videos.
Exactly.
But I did find that to be very interesting, that it can get into the
Exclusive
negatives,
Ace.
and that doesn't appear to be a bug as well, based on some correlations that I was seeing. Although I have seen it reported that party game modes will show up in the negatives. I haven't really played any party game modes. I didn't have any party modes.
Hey, no Diddy. I be in the party modes, dog. I like all the fun I can have. Everybody wants to be serious, but I like gun game. I like one in the chamber. The only thing I don't really like is infection, but I know everybody loves infection, but I don't really like infection that much. But any other party modes, like hey, no Diddy though.
Within my data set, so I can't confirm that for sure, but this is why I want to get some more information as well. The next thing I noticed is, I generally want to just focus on the current Call of Duty game, Black Ops 6. Many people were reporting their skill ratings from previous games as well, and it appears they use an entirely different scale depending on the Call of Duty game. Like with Modern Warfare 3 and Vanguard, on average, it seems the skill rating values get way higher than what we're seeing in Black Ops 6. And perhaps that's an indication of skill-based matchmaking being weaker or stronger depending on the game, but I don't think we can say that with any sort of confidence. They could just be using different weightings for how they determine what your skill value is, or just a different scale entirely. So we can't really draw any conclusions there, and again, from here on out, I'm just going to be focusing on the Black Ops 6 data. Another thing I've noticed is for some of the people that have shared their full graphs of their skill data, you often see a lot of roller coaster-like skill ratings, where it's just a constant cycle of ups and downs. And this seems to align with what many people have been sharing over the years that they experience while playing the game. And that is, you play really well for some games, then the next games you get into are significantly harder, so you perform way worse in those lobbies. And after you do that for a little while, now you're in easier lobbies and you get to perform really well again. And it's just that constant roller coaster-like effect that it seems is now mirrored by skill data, at least from some players. Again, keeping in mind, not entirely scientific, just some basic observation.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. It's like a casino. It's exactly what they're doing. We know this.
And then another interesting general observation I made here is certain limited time modes like Ransack, for instance, they seem to have no impact on your skill data. Like, as you play those modes, if you play several games in a row, your skill value doesn't change from those matches at all.
Hey, bro, and I liked Ransack. Ransack was a good LTM mode for Christmas time and the New Year's. It was, I would give it about an 8. Ransack, because you got to run up and take their cookies and then go drop the cookies back off, and then you get extra perks. And then the game's extra fun when you have those perks. But if they just made the game extra fun to begin with, then we wouldn't need the perks, dog. Like, they understand, bro.
This could be the reason that limited time modes can sometimes feel like they have little to no SBMM. And this is something I've been experiencing with the Pentathlon game mode as well. In my experience so far, it feels like there's no strong SBMM there like we would normally see in the other modes. And in general, it seems like I'm just getting a decent mix of lobbies, generally trending toward being much easier than the lobbies I experience if I play Domination, for instance.
Exactly.
Now, that's not to say that I haven't had some tough matches here or there, but it doesn't feel like it's all being determined algorithmically. Like, I can dominate for several matches in a row, and it doesn't feel like I'm immediately kicked up to a significantly harder lobby. Instead, it just feels random and organic. And based on what we see with the skill data in some of the modes like this, it may actually be true that there is no real SBMM taking place in those modes. Or perhaps at the very least, it doesn't affect your skill rating as you're playing, so if you're playing that mode for a long period of time, you remain at a consistent skill rating, and therefore you see a lot more consistency with your gameplay.
Yep, that's exactly. Hey, he just said it perfectly right there. That's what's going on. That's exactly what is going on. For the LTMs, you stay at a consistent rating, so you get onto just regular matches. But if you have too many good matches, even in an LTM, you're going to have like 5 terrible matches.
General observations
it's crazy,
that I made right away. Now I want to dive into one data set that I found to be particularly interesting, and this is coming from Clamps SH on Reddit. Now, the reason this data is so interesting is...
Hey, I don't have a Reddit. Hey, if you're watching this video and you have a Reddit, let me know down in the comments. And should I start a Reddit even though I don't have it? I don't feel like I should, man. I feel like the Reddit people got their thing, and I'm not a part of it, and they don't need me over there.
To 2boxing right up until 2boxing got patched. And just to be clear, I don't condone 2boxing. I don't 2box
did get
myself,
patched,
never
or
have.
yes or no?
I just find this data to be extra interesting because since we know he was manipulating the lobbies, it actually does give us a bit of an indication of how the lobby skill rating may impact your skill rating. So when looking at his graph, you can see the exact moment 2boxing was patched. There is a massive difference here. And it's interesting. Based on what we're seeing here, it looks like his skill rating dropped off drastically the moment 2boxing was patched, likely because his performance dropped off drastically the moment that was patched. But then it really didn't take long for that to shoot right back up to the point where it's actually much higher than it was when he was 2boxing, and his performance was significantly better. Now, he did also admit that even after 2box was patched, he's still playing games with his low skill account, so that will theoretically give an averaging effect, and he will still be playing in easier lobbies than what he should be playing.
So they didn't fix 2boxing. They just made it way worse. That's what they did.
If you were matchmaking
That's crazy.
solo. But the fact that his skill rating is so much higher now than back when he was playing in 2box lobbies, or essentially the lowest of low skill lobbies, that really once again seems to reinforce the fact that your lobby skill is a very important factor in what your skill rating is going to be. In fact, he shared a little more data here. He actually shared his elimination death ratio, win-loss ratio, and score per minute from when he was 2boxing to after he was 2boxing. And while his elimination death ratio was cut in half the moment 2boxing was patched, his skill rating ended up being drastically higher, and that's likely due to the fact that he's not playing against the lowest of low-skill players, and he's playing against people that are at least a little bit better. So once again, what we're seeing here is it appears your skill rating is not only based on your personal performance and how well you do, it's based on how well you do relative to the skill level of the players you're playing against. You can look like an absolute god, totally dominating bottom of the barrel players, but have an insanely low skill rating, or you could potentially barely be going positive and barely keeping up, but in really high skill lobbies, and your skill rating will end up going up because of that. And honestly, that's not too surprising at all, but it just reinforces the fact that we don't have access to all of the important data and the data that's really necessary to do like a full proper study on all of this. You really need that lobby data because it clearly has a big impact. And I think it's great we got this data from this person because, while we can't see our lobby skill rating, we can see exactly what happens when you're manipulating the skill level of the lobby that you're in. And while I think it is a good thing that a skill rating in a video game or sport or anything would be based on who you're playing against and how you're performing based on how good they are, rather than just how you're performing in isolation, at the same time, this highlights the big issue that many of us have with the matchmaking system that Call of Duty's been using for many years now. And this is the fact that outside of these data requests, we only have access to the isolated data of our personal performance independent from the skill level of the lobbies we're playing in. And this is why, if you're going to be matchmaking so heavily based on a skill value, we should be able to see this skill value. And I mean in-game, not via a personal data request that can take apparently weeks to get. And I would actually have far fewer complaints about this system
Takes weeks.
if we could see where we stood in the community, if we could see our skill rating, if we could see the skill rating of the lobby we were playing against as well. Or we can even just see, did our skill rating go up or down based on that previous match I just played? And that would at least give you an indication of what kind of lobby skill level you were playing in. Now, obviously, the thought there is, well, isn't that what rank play is for? And yes, exactly. That's what rank play is for.
Has a hidden
and that's
MMO.
again why I think the strict level of skill-based matchmaking that they use in Call of Duty gets so much pushback. There's a place for that, and that is ranked play. And while I think it is totally fine to have some level of skill-based matchmaking to protect the lowest of low from the highest of high-skilled players, I really still feel that they're too heavy-handed with this, considering the fact that this is casual public matches and we don't even get to see what our skill rating is. It's hidden from us, and yet it determines so heavily what our gameplay experience is going to look like. Next up, I want to talk about what I want to do in the future with this skill data, because I'd like to take a much deeper look here and maybe even narrow down a little bit how heavily each stat is weighted when it comes to your skill rating, obviously while missing out on the lobby skill data, which I'm sure is a very important factor that we will likely never get to see. But to give you an indication of what I want to do with this, I did collect a bunch of kill-death ratios and skill averages from people that have shared that with me, although in some cases they shared their elimination death ratio rather than kill-death ratio, so I just put that on a 0.9 multiplier to get roughly what their kill-death ratio would be. Keeping in mind, again, this is not scientific, but this is more so just to show what I would like to accomplish with more data, so don't take this one too seriously. The sample size is also tiny on this, but what I wanted to see is how much of a correlation is there between kill-death ratio and your average skill rating in Black Ops 6. And as you can see, there is definitely some correlation here. The lower your kill-death ratio on average, the lower your skill rating is going to be on average. But it does start to get a little more muddy as you get to the higher skill ratings or the higher kill-death ratio values. And that's where I believe things like score per minute really start to come into play heavily. Because if you have a really low kill-death ratio, you probably also have quite a low score per minute because you're dying a lot and coming off a respawn a lot, so you're not getting a lot of score. Whereas on the higher end, you could have a really high kill-death ratio because you're camping away from objectives and not getting a lot of score, or you could have a high kill-death ratio while also getting a lot of score. And that's going to have a big impact on what your skill rating is looking like. Now, unfortunately, overall score per minute is not a great indicator since it's skewed so heavily based on the game mode that you play, as well as the playlist as well. If you're playing Nuketown 24/7 or Stakeout 24/7, your score per minute value is going to be very, very different if you were playing those same game modes on the regular maps in the game. But this is where I want to be able to look into that data myself, because we can sort by game mode with this data, and I can separate out game mode specific score per minute. And I'd like to see how that correlates as well to our skill data to see if there's a stronger correlation there than our elimination death ratio or kill death ratio. So just out of curiosity, I want to do the math on this and I want to make a video about this in the future with a much more scientific presentation than what we saw in today's video. So this is where I need help from you guys. For those that are willing to take a little bit of time here, I would love it if you could take your HTML file that you received from Activision, assuming you did the data request and got your data, and then import that to Google Sheets. Now, once you do that, please take the time to scroll through, delete all personal data, anything with your IP address, your name, your address, anything like that. I obviously don't want to see any of that stuff. I just want to see the match data, and I only want to see the match data for Black Ops 6. I'm going to keep it all focused on that. So if you can do that and don't change any of the column formatting, don't delete any columns or shift any columns around, because I will be running some macros to pull data from that. And if the columns are inconsistent from one sheet to the next, that's just going to be a huge mess for me. If you could do all of that and then just send it to the email that I will leave in the description down below. I created that specifically to get data from you guys so my actual business account doesn't get totally
he's doing
flooded.
some real
If you
deep
can do
diving right
that'll
here.
be great. The more data, the better here. And I also want to point out, this is going to be totally anonymous. It's just going to be a data point. So if you're somebody that's worried about your stats being too low or anything, please don't worry about that. I'm not even going to look at who it comes from
Yeah,
or anything.
my stats are way
like
too
I said,
low,
it's
man.
just going to be a data point, and I suspect I'm going to be getting a lot of above average stats, and I really want to see what's going on the other side of that as well. So please, good stats, bad stats, I don't care. I just want to get as
And that
many
video's
stats as
coming
possible
real soon
so I
from
get as many
Exclusive
data
Ace
points
with
as
everybody's
possible.
data.
And then perhaps we can figure out what's going on with this skill rating, at least to the best of our ability with the data that we have available to us. And with that, that's going to wrap it up today's video. And I'm really curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about some of the observations I made in today's video? Like the fact that your skill rating can get down into the negatives. Also, what do you think about the graph with the person that two-boxed and how that affected his skill rating?
Graph?
Were you guys surprised to see results like that? Just let me know.
We out of here, y'all.
If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yo, Queen, this one deep.